Last week, Governor Jesse Ventura came to visit me in Austin, Texas. He's working on the second season of his hit television show, Conspiracy Theory for True TV. But that's all coming up in the fall. While we were driving around, we had time to discuss some of the things that are on the governor's mind, like naked body scanners in the airports and Homeland Security turning into the American Gestapo. He also told me about some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that he witnessed in his career in Hollywood with films like The Running Man and Predator. This is some pretty interesting stuff. So here's part of my discussion with Jesse Ventura as we were driving around Austin, Texas. Okay.
No, just some of the stuff we've been doing, interesting-wise, is that I told you about what happened at the Kennedy Flame, didn't I?
Yes, on the radio, but talk about it now on video.
Well, what happened was we tried to go through proper channels, and more has evolved from it since then. We tried to go through proper channels and say, look, we want to film at the eternal flame of John Kennedy, and we were first told, well, there can't be any dialogue. We said, that's fine. We don't need any dialogue. I'll just be solemnly standing there, hands folded, looking at the flame and in my thoughts. And they then came back officially and denied us, and they actually even said on the paper, because I went to my Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, because I was outraged over this. I said, how can they tell me I can't? You know, we just wanted to let them know, yes, we're going to do it. We ended up doing it, and in fact, it was typical government. The top wasn't communicating with the bottom, because when we came there, all the guards moved everybody out of the way so we could get the shot. You know, they cleared everyone out, because we said it'll only take 5 minutes. And so they worked great for us when we got there. But the upper echelon, the guy actually said, it's because we don't like the content of your TV show. And I have it on paper in a letter to Michelle, but that's what they told the Congresswoman.
So now the Army is deciding who can film at national parks according to what they agree with.
Yeah. In essence, yes. They did not like the content of my show, therefore they denied me, a Navy veteran, a mayor and a governor, from being photographed in front of John Kennedy's eternal flame. Now, they also lied to the Congresswoman about this. They said that it had to be cleared through the Kennedy family, right? So we contacted the Kennedy family, and the spokesman for the Kennedys came back and said, we don't know what they're talking about. They said, we have never had anything to do with Arlington Cemetery other than President Kennedy's buried there. But they said, we have never had any jurisdiction. They said that falls under the Arlington Cemetery. So this guy blatantly lied to the Congresswoman Bachmann that it requires permission from the Kennedy family. And the Kennedy spokesman came back and said, we have nothing to do with that. We've never, ever granted permission. We don't have nothing to do with it.
And if I remember correctly, Governor, they also said we don't allow anybody to do stand-up shots there, but then we went and looked it up. There's all sorts of TV, and the film JFK was shot there.
Kevin Costner stood there and did it. So they were lying through their teeth on multiple things, just simply because, as the guy said, he personally and the Army doesn't like the content of my shows. And that was quoted. And I'm getting back to the Congresswoman, because she writes in the bottom, I hope this answers the problem. Well, no, it doesn't. I want this guy fired. How can he bring his personal opinion into government policy? You know, that's ridiculous.
So he sounds like a petty dictator with mission creep way outside his jurisdiction.
Yes. And what right does he have, because he doesn't particularly agree with what my show covers, to deny me, yet he'd approve someone else if he did agree with what they did? You know, that's not up to him, and it shouldn't be up to any government official. And the bottom line is, Alex, Arlington Cemetery is paid for by my tax dollars, and I'm a taxpayer.
Well, they might just privatize it and give it to some foreign company.
That could happen too, but it hasn't been done yet.
Well, the way they're doing it with water. Now, Jesse, I know the show's coming out in the fall, and I've been a consultant, been privy to some of the behind the scenes. It's looking like this season's going to be even more riveting and
could be
and scary than the last one.
It could be.
I mean, how much can you talk about the other harassment and surveillance?
Well, other harassment has been, we particularly wanted to go to an island to view it, and I won't say at this time what island or anything like that, but we hired a fishing boat, and we got down there with our cameras, and when he realized what we wanted to do, he wouldn't do it, and none of the other boats in the harbor would either. And the reason is, is Homeland Security. Homeland Security now owns their licenses and livelihoods because anything on the borders falls under their jurisdiction. So if they tick off Homeland Security can then pull their licenses and they can't earn a living. And so we finally did get a boat to come over from a different harbor, and it's kind of a funny tale because when he pulled up, I knew we had the right man. You know how I knew it, Alex?
How?
He was flying the skull and crossbones from his mast, and I turned to the crew and I said, we got the right guy now. I said, anybody that flies the skull and crossbones from the mast, you know, and all he cared about, he said, you're not going to ask me to do anything illegal, right? And I said, no. We're going to be in, you know, international, national waters. We're not going.
But it's the intimidation and how there's now this total federalization of everything.
Everything.
We had talked about the.
I'm viewing Homeland Security and what I'm seeing out of them. They're supposed to be there for our protection. I'm now referring to them as the Gestapo. They're the United States, or they could evolve into the United States Gestapo. I can see that on the horizon.
About a year ago, I had asked you about the naked body scanners in the airport, and you said you hadn't encountered them yet. Now you have.
Yeah, in Denver.
Give us your, what happens there?
Well, they're just a big body scanner where they offer it to you much simpler than standing there with the guy with the wand. And you go inside this big, huge booth, and apparently they just take a picture of your whole body from 360 degrees because it encompasses, you go inside the thing. And I now purposely don't go, I won't use them. I would rather be hand scanned. And of course, when I go through an airport, I'm pulled out every time because I've had prosthesis surgery of the hip. I have too much metal in my hip now, and so I set the buzzers off no matter what airport I go to. So it's if I'm flying, it's an everyday occurrence for me to be hand scanned, you know, with just the wand and the human. But I refuse to go into one of those body scanners.
Well, Governor, I want to tell you about something.